Hi everyone, so welcome to something a little bit different. This is something that has been on my heart for a long time, and I've tried it on and off in the past, but nerves just got the better of me, and I needed time to become more confident in myself and to have more confidence in that the words that I get, you know, are for other people and not just for me, and that there's this part of me that, you know, when you create art, if you're an artist or, you know, you just like creating, you don't want to put your stuff out there because you feel that people won't accept it, and you struggle to call yourself an artist, but everyone can create. But it's that feeling of not being able to accept yourself as an artist because you don't feel good enough. But as soon as you start creating art, you're an artist. So it's having that confidence, and I feel the same with not just my art, but with my words. And for the longest time in the mornings, I often get these words that just flow. And I normally, I've got that, I've shown it in another video, but I have a notebook or notebooks where they have to be by my bed because, and with pens, loads of pens, because it will just come and I just have to write it all down. So I created this journal, and a lot of these words in here are words that I've received in the morning, and I really wanted to get them down onto really nice backgrounds instead of having a scruffy journal, and then to rewrite it all out like this helps me to remember it and memorize it. And I was talking to somebody the other day in one of the groups online about self-care, and because of my background, because of what I've gone through, I've learned from experience all about both self-care and self-empowerment and the difference between the two. And when I say learn, I don't mean fully, I mean I'm still learning, and we always continue to learn and grow. So, you know, I'm not an expert in it by no means, but I have learned from experience. But so what I've done here in this notebook is, this is sort of a self-empowerment journal, and it kind of, like in this spread here, this was born from basically something that I had to do. It was really hard, and the next day I felt like I was just completely new, that my life had just started afresh, and I'm going to document it in this spread by just writing a few words here that will remind me of it. So this is, I just did this a couple of days ago, and it's ready to journal on now. And this is what this notebook's going to be for. I think I'm just going to be doing journal spreads in here, which are all about self-empowerment and different things that I get in the morning, words that I get, and that will transform into art. Because I feel that art is definitely, I know everyone's heard this, but art is really healing. And it is especially healing for me, especially colours as well. So the colours that come out onto the page are the colours that I'm feeling at the time, or interpret what I've received, you know. So I made this little, I basically, the words that I got one morning about self-care and self-empowerment, I wrote them out neat, I typed them out neat, and then printed them off. So I thought, well, I'll go through them today in this video. I just want to just sort of, don't want you to read ahead, because I want to be able to sort of go through each one. But basically, here's the difference between what I've interpreted, the difference between self-care and self-empowerment. So self-care is literally committing to looking after yourself physically, mentally. By the way, there will be spelling mistakes because I haven't got a spell checker on this program that I used. Mentally, emotionally and spiritually. It's recognising your input does not match your output. When you give to others but do not replenish the well. Often self-care only happens once we have completely crashed. Self-care is recognising that taking time out to look after, love and nurture yourself isn't selfish, but the opposite. In fact, it's vital. We can be met with resistance, but you choose to ignore it. Okay, so when I say that, you choose to ignore it. When it comes to self-care, basically you have to make decisions to look after yourself, which other people might not like, and that will be met with resistance, be it from your spouse, partner, children, friends. But you have the confidence. If you're fully self-empowered and with self-care, you just choose to ignore it. You say, well, this is what's best for me, and you can just make that decision. So that's what I meant by you choose to ignore it. Self-care is a day-to-day thing that should never stop. Self-empowerment, however, should be a one-time thing. Really, with self-empowerment, if you haven't, I'll go through what self-empowerment is, but self-empowerment, you shouldn't have to keep doing it. It should be one of those things where once you've got your power, you keep it. Unless, of course, you've let it go again, then obviously you have to get back in self-empowerment. You shouldn't have to go dipping in and out. You should, once you've got your power back, and you realise who you truly are, that's it, you keep it. Self-care is learning about different technique and lifestyles, finding what works for you and incorporating that into your life. So, for instance, mindfulness, maybe there's a faith that you follow, it could be exercise, it could be different, it's just sort of like different things to help with your self-care. It could be what you eat, all sorts of different things as well, like the environment you live in. So you might decide that where you live isn't beneficial to your health, so you would choose to move. It's all those different things. Okay, so self-empowerment, the list is a little bit longer because it's a little bit more complicated and in-depth. Self-empowerment is recognising when we have given another our power, or rather surrendered our power to be controlled by another. This can be from worrying what others think to being in an abusive, controlling relationship. So there's like, you've got sort of like lower scale and then the higher scale. So it could be like worrying what others think. For me, a lot of it has to do now with worrying what other people think. It used to be that I was in abusive situation and that's been a couple of times as I've been growing up and stuff like that. But that's something where self-empowerment is something that I've had to learn, as I get older, because I've never fully felt that I'd got my power back until a couple of years ago. I'd say about 4 or 5 years ago now, sorry, where I said, right, that's it, and then I started to get my power back, but it wasn't straight away, it was bit by bit. And I think that's what you find with self-empowerment. You have to do it bit by bit because it really is it is a process. So self-empowerment can only commence when something inside says enough. Often great life-changing events happen when we hit absolute rock bottom. That happened for me when I found myself in a second situation where there was manipulation and control going on, and inside of me was just screaming, your life is ticking away and you've given your power and someone else the control over your life, yet there is all these wonderful things out there for you, that you can do with your life, yet you've just given your life over to another to control you. It was like this thing inside me just said enough. I'd had enough. I wanted my life back. So that's when I started to employ self-empowerment. Self-empowerment can be met with incredible resistance, and in extreme circumstances we may need professional support to help us reclaim what we surrendered. We meet resistance because those who controlled us have suddenly lost power and are forced to see their actions as wrong. This double whammy is, more often than not, too much for that person to accept, so they divert blame onto you and rage against you. This is where a self-empowerment plan is vital, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later on, about the self-empowerment plan. But yeah, the resistance, I think, is even greater because with self-care, if you've already got your power, it's something it's fine. You haven't got people controlling you. But with self-empowerment, it's more harder. The resistance is more harder because you've got people who you've obviously control you, so you need to get that back. So they're gonna obviously try and fight back for the control. Self-care, you carve out time for yourself, whereas self-empowerment, you get a plan into action and seek out a support system, even if it's one friend, person who will support you on your journey to reclaim your power. Just one person can be enough. Just to have that one person cheering you on, helping you out whenever you need it. can be enough. It really can. You know, I've done a lot of this on my own. The people that have supported me on my journey early on have been authors. Like, I find them in a book. You know, they're not people I have contact with. The people that I have found that have helped me through my journey have been online, so they've not even been in my life. That came later on, but it was a day-to-day getting back my power every single day, and I think it took me longer because I didn't have anyone to help me. Not only that, but there were people that didn't really believe in what I was doing, so I came up against a lot of resistance. Self-care, you generally have power but are just not making time for you. Self-empowerment means this is what we were talking about before, self-empowerment means you didn't even have power to do things for you, and not only that, but you could well have been pulled down mentally and believed those lies. Oh, excuse my spelling, but yeah, because I typed this out really quick, but the thing is with getting your power back and self-empowerment, with those that controlled you, or with the things and ideologies that controlled you, you could have believed the lies that said that you weren't good enough or you can't do this. And actually, this is so close to my heart, because this morning I dealt with something that is along those lines, and it's something I've carried for years, where it said there was something that happened to me growing up where I couldn't do maths at school, but it was extreme, because when people that were closest to me tried to help, I said, it's just not going in, I just don't get it. And they would shout and get annoyed with me, and then teachers would get annoyed with me because I didn't get it, and then I just gave up on the system, because at the end of the day I wasn't getting the help that I needed. Today there are many support systems for kids at school where they really are struggling. That struggle is real and it's understood by the teachers, so they implement the help that those children need. You know, we didn't really have that when I was a kid. So I grew up with a feeling of, well, really stupid things like, well, you know, you can't fill out this form for this because you're just never going to understand it. And I used to put things off because I used to worry that I wasn't going to understand it at all. So big adult decisions I kept putting off because they were too overwhelming for me, because I was scared that there wasn't going to be anyone to help me. And it's something I've carried all these years. And this morning I did sort of like this thing where I would affirm to myself, I am head over this. I am head over this in the sense that I rule over this situation. This situation doesn't overcome me. I have power over this situation. I can do this. And you have to be your own hero. You've got to be that voice, because if no one else is going to do it for you, you have to do it for yourself. That's self-empowerment. It's realising that you have the power within you, and it's claiming it, and it is exercising it every single day. I'm not saying about start misusing your own power and becoming a tyrant over everyone else, but I mean like living your life without worrying what other people think, without being scared or fearful. I mean, you feel the fear, but you do it anyway, you know? It's about using that power that you have and believing in yourself, being your own hero, being that voice and saying, you can do this, you know? You might be worried and scared about it, but you just tell yourself, well, you can do it, because when at the end of the day, when you do it, there's going to be people there who are helpful, that you can ask for help. And generally these things, like, you do it and you're like, oh, that was really easy, I don't know why I was worrying about that at all. So it really is about just stepping out and doing these things and being that voice. Self-empowerment can be more scary than self-care, because you face life-changing decisions, such as leaving abusive relationships and or removing toxic people from your life. Granted, we may have to remove toxic people from our lives as part of self-care, but we're doing that from a place of power. Self-empowerment, we're doing it from a place of little power, you know, from that place of weakness, of worry, of fear, but with the aim of fully reclaiming that power. It can be easier to relinquish our power, and this is another thing. It can be easier to relinquish our power and allow another to run our lives for us, even if that person is abusive. We'd rather live with the abuse and that control than face the fear of running and taking control of our own lives. Sometimes it is so overwhelming to, you know, run and rule our own selves it's so overwhelming, so overbearing, that if there is someone in our life that we rely on, if they're abusive, we would rather stay in that abusive situation. And I'm not just talking about extreme abuse, I'm talking about just controlling people, or toxic people. It's just the scale, it varies, but we would rather have someone control our lives for us because it's easier. And yet, you've just given away your power and your life to somebody else. You can't expect to live the life that you want to live if you have allowed somebody else to run it for you. It's that case of, do you want to be self-empowered? Do you want to have your life and control of your life? Or would you rather let somebody else control your life for you? That is a decision that you can make, and it's free to make. And if you do choose for someone else to control your life, then you just have to expect that you just need to know that you can't live fully with the things that you've always wanted to do. You have no control over your life. But again, that is your decision that you are completely free to make. But the gift inside of you cannot be fully expressed when you allow someone else to control you. Every single person has their own unique giftings. Like, we're born with different fingerprints. We're all born with a different gift. And in order for you to fully develop that gift, you have to have control of your life. You have, in the sense that you have to be fully empowered. And to be empowered is to know your true self. So part of the journey of self-empowerment is also discovering who you are, discovering your gifts, these take years. This sort of thing takes absolutely, ages. Some people are so fortunate in that they seem to have born knowing exactly what they want to do. They live a charmed life. But they still have difficulties, obviously, but they push through it because they know who they are. They're confident in themselves. They have their own power, and they use it and they run with their giftings. They just seamlessly go through life. But unfortunately, some of us have grown up with abuse, and some of us have grown up with abuse and stuff, and we're damaged people who are growing to become who we truly are, and it is a journey. So I hope some of that's made sense. I've typed up also from my notes, self-empowerment crisis plan of action. This is my plan that I put into action in my own life. This comes from experience. Okay, so this is what I've learned over the years, and I mean years. It's taken me to where I am now to do this, and sometimes it's still really difficult. Okay, so with the self-empowerment thing, when somebody points their finger, shouts at you, starts pulling you down and swearing at you, calling you names, automatically, if you're a sensitive person like me, every single part of you, inside of you, recoils, and you just want to hide and just cry and not come out for the rest of your life. Or you just want to react. So I've put here, don't react. Don't hold on to the pain. I did that. I used to punish myself it's awful. I find this sometimes really difficult to talk about because sometimes the pain comes up. Anyway, don't hold on to the pain. When I say the pain comes up, it's just sort of like, it's still an emotional thing because I'm just so happy with where I've got to now. But it's really hard knowing that there are other people who obviously struggle through this. And I want you to know that you do get through it. If you make that commitment to yourself, you can come to a place where you're truly, really happy with your life. And you're so, so proud of yourself because you've come to this place and you've done it yourself. Granted, you may have had support, but you still done it yourself. You made the decisions, you made the daily choices. Not everybody's going to be there for you every second of the day. So don't hold on to the pain, okay? Please don't hold on to the pain. It wastes years of your life. Don't indulge in a pity party. That, in a way, was my pity party was just sort of like my way of punishing myself because of that voice, that used to say to me, like, you're not good enough and you're this. It's almost like I took over from that person and just started to really sort of like, punish myself. And again, you know, this as well, don't replay events over and over, reliving them. This is like someone hitting you with the weapon, delivering the first blow and handing it to you to continue the job while they walk away. That is what a pity party and replaying the events. This is what all of this does. It is somebody hurting you, going away, and then you just continue that job for them. But if anything, you're being harder on yourself than they were. You know, it's like wasting your life completely. You need to make that decision, say, I'm going to learn not to do this. I'm not saying that you will stop straight away, but you will recognise it. It's recognising a pity party. It's recognising when you're holding on to the pain. It's recognising when you react. It's recognising when you replay the events over and over again, reliving them. It's recognising those things and stopping it, using your mind and saying, hang on, no, this is no good for me. It's like eating poison or something that's not good for you. Recognising, hey, this is not good for my body. I've got to stop doing it, you know. With this negative energy that you have, okay, and I know more than anyone, not more than anyone, but I know what this negative energy feels like, and it burns inside of you. It is so strong. It's like, it just sort of consumes you. It's like adrenaline. Take that negative energy and channel it for good. This is where self-empowerment comes in. How do you do that? You've got to form a plan of action. Okay, so we'll go through that in a second. Form a plan of action. Take ownership of your life and power. So that's acknowledging, hey, hang on, what the hell am I doing? You know, I'm in control of my own life. Why am I punishing myself like this? I can be this great person, yet I allow myself to indulge in these things that are so bad for me. You know, I'm not talking about crying when someone's hurt you. I'm not talking about that. You know, these emotions that are real, that you need to cry, you need to, you know, like grief and things like that. They're very real emotions that you need to have to be a healthy person. That's all part of self-care. I'm talking about indulging in the pain and the pity party and the events, you know, replaying them over and over again, and that punishing yourself, that, you know, almost like it's like self-harm, but inside, without harming yourself physically, but mentally, emotionally, you know, inside you just keep punishing yourself over and over again. It's saying, no, you know, I'm going to take ownership of myself and the power that I have to be able to stop this. Make a self-care goal. So make self-care a goal, sorry. So that is saying, okay, now part of getting my power back, I also need to look after myself, you know, bring self-care in, because there's likelihood is you haven't been looking after yourself at all. A plan, so going back to plan of action, a plan and list of goals helps you when the adrenaline is worn off. So when the reaction, when the pain, all of that has subsided, we can drift back into allowing that other person to control us and relinquishing our power and worrying what other people think. Instead of, you know, because like when that wears off, you need to have not backup, but you need to have that plan and list of goals ahead of you so you can push through day to day as you gain your power. This is why you need to make a commitment to yourself immediately when all of this is fresh, and have a plan. Things to include in your plan of action. Remind yourself the world is your oyster. Right, okay. Your plan of action, you need to understand, okay, that there is hope, and you need to, more than anything else, have expectation. Okay, I know that sometimes we think that, you know, our expectations have they've not come to pass. The desires of our heart have not come to pass, so we slip back into that pity party, that, oh, it's not working out for me. But it's a process. It's like you've got your whole life to work these things out. You've got to hold on and have expectation that the world, yeah, there are crazy things going on in it, but you need to believe, am I going to focus on all this bad stuff, all the crap that comes on the news? Am I going to carry that with me? Am I going to listen to that? Or am I going to turn it off? Not pretend it's not happening, but choose to focus on the good things so that you can, as you build yourself up and have that self-empowerment, can do something about it then. I believe that every person has a gift that if they exercised, this world would be completely different. It would be completely transformed if we focus on the bad, go, oh my goodness, that's so bad, and whoa, moan and groan about it, and then have a rant about it on Facebook without, I'm not saying don't do it, but without growing in who you are and exercising your giftings, then it's just totally unhealthy. What's it going to achieve? It's going to achieve nothing. You need to discover who you are and become that person who you are meant to become, because then the world will be a better place. So you need to remind yourself that the world, there's so much out there that is filled with possibilities, and to never keep your dreams small. Have small dreams, but have big dreams too, and dream big, knowing that actually the big dreams can happen. Also, another thing to include in your plan of action is exercise. Now, probably, I can hear people's eyes rolling because at the end of the day, exercise, it doesn't actually mean running, going to the gym. It basically means keep moving. Go outside for fast walks or a walk, or whatever you're physically capable of. Even just getting outside in nature is really, really good. Getting that fresh air, moving your body, don't be stagnant. Just that any form of exercise that gets you out and moving, is good. Another part, if you plan, always set new goals and list the baby steps how to get there. Don't overwhelm yourself. Set all different goals and make sure that you break them down. Don't get overwhelmed, and have these goals as well always in front of you so that you have something to strive for. Also, revive old goals you gave up on, because those old goals that you gave up on may actually be relevant to you still. If they're not, then don't revive them, but if you believe that these old goals are still relevant to you, then revive them. Also, go out with friends who build you up. If you don't have friends who build you up, find some. Go join groups on Facebook. I mean, there are places, but obviously there are groups and things that are very accepting. You might want to, if you are very sensitive and you don't want to get hurt again, you might want to seek friendships in safe groups, places where support groups and things like that, relevant to your situation, to what you're going through, and you can just go online and find them in your area, or ring a number, start by phoning a helpline or something. At the end of the day, if you do have friends who build you up, spend more time with them. You need that support system around you to help you, because obviously you're going to be quite weak at the start, and you're going to need that support, around you. And then finally, if you feel threatened, seek relevant professional help. Okay, if you do feel threatened and you're listening to this, you need to find the relevant helplines and what is relevant to you in your situation. You do need to go to the helpful organisations who will help you. So yeah, that is part of the plan. I would actually put that first. Top of the list is acknowledging that you need to regain your power and come out of a controlling situation, and then second, it's being brave enough to step out and saying, okay, I feel threatened here, I need to get help. So I really hope that some way, this is really so different to what I normally do. I don't know it depends on how this video is received, but I really just wanted to go through the difference between self-empowerment and self-care, and how I incorporate my self-empowerment and self-care into my art. Self-empowerment, there's a healing involved, and that's what this art here is all about, healing and empowering myself through the journaling process. Self-care is like this, I guess, would be my day-to-day journaling, which I'm starting in this book, similar to what I've done here, where I just write all the words that I get in the morning, and that's my self-care is putting into, it's part of the self-care package is journaling. So that's that. Self-empowerment obviously is going to be this one here. So I just wanted to throw the art in there because I didn't want it all to be about just me talking about the difference between self-empowerment and self-care. I really hope this helps someone. I have no idea how this is going to be received. Yeah, sorry, I really hope I haven't offended anybody in this video, but my heart is just really out there to say you're not alone, you're definitely not alone, and that there are people out there willing to be that voice and say you can do it, to cheer you on. I'm one of them, because I've been there and I've been through that pain and that loneliness, and it's just horrible. It's really awful. We're never meant to be alone, and I just want to say that, you know, you aren't alone at all. And I have my worries, mainly, you know, it's overcoming what people think, and that is, I cringe thinking about putting this video out there, but then it's the thought that, hang on, it might actually help and reach someone, and if it does reach or bless one person, then it was worth putting it out there. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments below what you think, and blimey, thanks for staying to the very end of this video, to this point. And I have experienced this stuff for myself, so I'm just speaking from experience, not from a professional point of view. So yeah, thank you. Take care. Bye.